What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Let me entertain you. Make your next thing a big one. Speaking of entertainers, today on the program, Charlie Cope. Who's Charlie Cope, you're asking? Well, if you don't know by now, you're going to get to know in the next few minutes. So stick around for that. This week's shows, I'll be at the Cedar Lounge in Morrilton, Arkansas on Thursday. Yes, the second time I've been there. I'm very excited to be back. My goodness, they tried me out last Thursday for the video dance party karaoke jam out on the party patio, and it was good. And the owner came out and said, yeah, people are having a good time. Come back every Thursday. I said, yes, sir. No problem. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. That's over at the Cedar Lounge in Morrilton, Arkansas. So if you're anywhere in the area, I encourage you to come. Thursday from 6 to 10. Excitement. And then on Friday night, I'll be at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. My usual Friday night gig, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. All you have to do to be a star is simply sign up for karaoke. If you sing in the car, if you sing in the shower, you can sing with me. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open. Pool tables, pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try to make some money on a Friday night, I encourage you to check out the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. There's always something fun to do, always some good people. I'm so blessed, to have a good show Thursday and Friday. Thursday at the Cedar Lounge in Morrilton, Arkansas, 6 to 10, and then the RAB in Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Friday. And then Saturday, I have a wedding in Quitman, Arkansas. So unless you're invited, you can't come. Nope. Private party. But I'm excited that weddings are coming back. Yes, weddings. Excellent. All right, let's get into it with Charlie Cope. Now, I did get some video of him. Unfortunately, silly me. I got audio. I got plenty of audio. There's a good amount of audio. Actually, I hit the record button at the right time on the audio. But for the video, it was like 15 minutes into it, or 10 or 15 minutes into it. I went, ooh, I forgot to hit the record on the video. So if you're listening to the audio portion, shouldn't bother you at all. But if you're watching the video for the first few minutes, it's going to be a static picture of Charlie Cope and myself. And then there are lovely voices talking. But there's a good hour or so of us talking on the video, so you'll get to see some movement as well. All right, that's just me. I every once in a while things happen. I'm more worried about it than I probably should be, because you got a full interview for sure. It's just I like to add the video version on the YouTube. I said the YouTube. I'm old, okay? All right. All right, without further ado, let's get into it with Charlie Cope. Skyping Charlie Cope now. Cool. The amazing Charlie Cope in front of me. I love it. Awesome. We're able to get some video as well as audio. So if you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the YouTube version for sure, so you can see his pretty face as well as hear his voice and hear the story of Charlie Cope, or at least a little part of it. As well, for those that don't know who you are, the people that have been hiding under a rock, who is a Charlie Cope? Well, give the people a little idea. The blurb on the top of your Wikipedia page, that little paragraph at the top. The blurb. Who is Charlie Cope?
I'm an Americana singer, which, in case you don't know what that is, a lot of people don't tend to know what that is, so my hair is kind of unruly. Is basically just kind of anything old school kind of mixed together, a little classic rock, classic country, old school folk, blues, a little bit of everything. So I've been known to play in just about 1 million different bands doing any kind of music you can imagine. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I play around here a whole bunch, and I go on a couple tours every now and then. I don't know, kind of I should just be reading off my website. There's a great blurb on there. That would be way better.
I don't want to do that. I want it to be all fresh. I want it to be completely off the cuff. I hardly ever do any kind of research on this. Yes, I know your name. Yes, I know you're some kind of a musician. Yes, I've heard some of your words and you speaking. I think the latest video you had a COVID-19 postponement on your Facebook page, and unfortunately, that's things that are happening right now. But we'll get to all that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'd like to know where Charlie Cope came from. Have you always been in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or is that your spot your whole life?
No, I'm from a really small town outside of Houston, about an hour or so outside of Houston, called Brookshire. And kind of really small. Like Main Street has like a mechanic and a donut shop and a bank, and that's kind of it.
What more do you need in a small town? Well, what is the advantage and disadvantage of growing up in was it Brookshire?
Yeah, it was Brookshire, and I actually just came out with a song about a month ago called Waller County, and Brookshire wasn't very catchy, so I had to call it Waller County. But it was about going back home. It was about because I came up here for college. I go to UNT, University of North Texas, and so
what's their mascot?
It's an eagle.
Go Eagles! What are you studying? What are you studying?
Music and business.
No kidding. You're going to actually learn both sides. How not to get screwed by the record label.
Exactly.
No, that's something that kids don't learn is they don't know how to count money, but they don't know how to manage money, or they know how to, count, but they don't know a real life application to said counting. And it sounds like you're putting your head on your shoulders correctly. Now, was this at the bequest of one of your family members, mom or dad or anything, or is this something you came up with on your own?
I mean, I had a lot of mentors in the music business. I mean, my mom and dad, I think my mom wanted me to go to trade school and just do something that way. And well, I don't really know what my old man wanted, but music was not on everybody's mind. It was just kind of my thing. And then, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. So I have a lot of experience. I've seen a lot of people that have done really well and a lot of people that have not done very well. And so I try to learn from everybody's mistakes. And I said, all right, well, I've learned as much as I think I can here. Let's move on to the next town, go to college and learn as much as humanly possible.
Well, one of the things that I always liked was learn from the mistakes of others, because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself. So it sounds like you got that those words of wisdom. I feel like it's Abraham Lincoln, but a lot of people attribute so many things to Abraham Lincoln. It may not be him. It may or may not be him. Yeah, what is it? Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
but you say Waller County. Now there's a man. I just did a wedding last Saturday, and they were doing a lot of red dirt country. And I remember there was somebody that sang something about Waller something recently. Oh my goodness, it must be a popular place to come from. I mean, Texas is a big place anyway. There's tons of people that come out of there, and music is just only one byproduct of that place. It's an amazing state all on its own. Growing up in Texas, I mean that has to be something in itself. What are your thoughts on growing up in Texas?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Texas. I moved. I lived here when I was younger, and then when I was 12, I moved back to Texas. I actually I lived all around. When I was 11, 12 years old, I left Hong Kong actually and moved to Texas.
What?
Moved to Brookshire, Texas.
Yeah. No. Tell me to see the stories. You just don't know where they're going to go. Don't gloss over the Hong Kong. You got from Berkshire, the one horse town or the one mechanic town. And then you went straight to Hong Kong? Why?
Oh, no, it was actually reversed. I mean, I lived like all around Texas, greater Houston area mostly. And my dad, he builds golf courses internationally, like construction work, and so did his dad. It's kind of a family business. And so, when I was little, I lived all around Europe, and then because he would build golf courses over there. And then when got a little older, I had to go to school. I moved back to Texas, and we would just go from city to city around the greater Houston area. And then I went back with my dad. We lived in China for a little while, and then I lived in Hong Kong. And then I came back here to live with my mom and in Brookshire, Texas, and I stayed there longer than I've ever stayed anywhere. And I actually I met like all my friends now. We all keep in touch still. So I learned guitar and singing and everything. And it's I don't want to go on and on,
No, we got time, man. I never put a time limit on these things. Usually an hour and a half is enough time to get an idea of who you are, and where you're at. But man, this is terribly interesting of what's going on. Now, let me get it straight in my head, and for the listeners, you were born in Berkshire or in somewhere around there. Or you were born in Hong Kong?
I think I was born in Houston.
Okay. I was thinking, was he born in Hong Kong or was he born in Berkshire? And you said you went back and forth, but you were I guess I'm guessing from the sound of it, your mom and dad split up, and then you kind of went off with your dad for a while.
I did, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And he's building golf courses all over the place. Are you learning how to play golf, or are you at least learning Chinese, Mandarin, or was it what was the other one?
Wo Shuo Yidian or Putonghua. I speak a little bit.
All right, I don't want to know what you said. I'm not even going to look it up.
That means I speak a little bit.
Yeah. That's funny. No, and don't lose that. Having that, being bilingual. I speak Spanish. I'm from Miami, so having that has gotten me so many jobs that I'm not qualified for. So speaking Chinese, man, is something you don't want to lose. You don't speak it fluently though?
No, I mean, even when I was over there, I didn't do very good. And when I moved to Hong Kong, I had a class in Mandarin, and I was terrible at it, just awful. I got like terrible grades in that. But I knew how to say what I needed. I knew how to tell the taxi driver my address. I knew how to ask where the bathroom was. I knew what I needed.
Okay, the basic things you need when you go to Hong Kong. So tell me about that experience. The dichotomy of Charlie Cope being from small town Texas and then heading for big city Hong Kong. Man, what was that like? The culture shock. What was your experience over there, and how did they treat you? Being an American, because the novelty is, when the Asians come over here with the exotic good looks, and then you go over there with your American good looks. You're a novelty. How did that? I mean, how did you get treated?
I got treated. I mean, Hong Kong. A lot of people don't realize. I mean, that never been there. That Hong Kong is very diverse. So, it used to be owned by England for a short amount of time, like temporarily owned. And so, I mean, seeing an American there isn't a big thing. Just about everybody speaks English. But before I lived in Hong Kong, I know this is kind of confusing. It confuses myself sometimes too. But before I lived in Hong Kong, I lived in two really small towns in China, mainland China. And one was called Yuya. It was just a really small town, not as small as Brookshire, but it's a pretty small town. And most people there never saw an American before. So it was, people would come up to me just to see me because, like, they didn't know what I looked like. I was a kid, so I guess it was before everybody had an iPhone and they could have Googled what does an American look like. But a lot of people would come up to me just to see what I look like. And then
did they come up and like touch your face and kind of, that kind of thing? Or wow, he's different, and touch your hair and the texture of things. Man, I can imagine that. See, okay, now that's where you got the experience that I'm thinking about, where you go overseas and you're out of the norm. You become, like a novelty, a different kind of person. Now you're mentioning Hong Kong being owned by the British. That's very current events, because they were supposed to be the two was it two governments or one rule, two governments? I can't remember the exact quote, but when they were given back to China from the British government, they were supposed to be autonomous until for another 50 years or so. And then China said, no, we want to go ahead and take Hong Kong and re-rule it. So that's current events like happening right now. And people are going to jail for things that they were doing yesterday was okay. And today, it's not so okay. They were just talking, speaking out about their own government, like you think would be normal here in the U.S. or, being an American in the U.S., we speak out about our government all the time. That's just what we do, right? But yeah, you're talking about Hong Kong, and you're right, man. It was a British colony for the longest time. So the experience you got as a kid was being different in China. I mean, that had to give you some perspective. What did you take away from that?
Well, I mean, when I first got there, I mean, I was used to it because before I was in China and even before I was in Texas all the time, when I was little, I would go to Europe before me and my sister had to go to school. We would go all around Europe. So, I mean, I was kind of used to it. But, I mean, it wasn't anything like China because when I went to China, it was kind of like that scene in Indiana Jones 2 when he got to the village and everybody was like, ooh, Indiana Jones, I mean, he's Harrison Ford. He looks a little bit better than me, but still.
Not that much better. Come on, man. Come on, son. I know you're fishing for compliments. You got one. You're a good looking dude. All right. And I'm happy to see you. Yeah. Okay. Is that your natural hair color?
It is. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
A little goofy today, though.
Okay. All right. I talk to a lot of ladies on this thing, and sometimes I'll catch them off guard. They'll say, "Oh, you were going to put video up too? Can you give me 15 minutes?" And then I'll get off the thing and let them get themselves freshened up, because they got to look a certain way. But I mean, you look good, man. You probably woke up like that, looking so fine. I'm sure the ladies love you, adore you.
Man, this work, all this makeup.
All right, man. So, man, and going through Europe, was that once again for Dad's job, where he was making golf courses all around Europe? What is making golf courses? Does he actually do the digging, or is it designing different golf courses?
I know he has done a lot of digging. He will sometimes. He usually works on a bulldozer, and so does my granddad. It's kind of a family job.
Wow, now that's a trade to have, man. You were talking about your parents were thinking, maybe you should learn a trade. Well, learn a trade. You're always, people are always going to need mechanics. That one mechanic in Berkshire, and people are always going to need plumbers and electricians. So yeah, learning a trade is definitely an important aspect. But you're putting you are betting on yourself. It looks like you're going to take this music thing and go all the way with it. You've been doing it what was it since you were 15 or before that? You said
14 is
14.
So
what was it that you got in 14 when you were 14? What was it that gave you the wherewithal to say, "Oh, I want to do music"? Who got you into it?
It was two people. It was my grandfather. He bought me my first guitar. He told me if I wanted to, I could sing. The first songs I ever wrote, he told me he said he liked my songwriting. My singing back then and my guitar playing was pretty terrible, but he said he liked my songwriting. And so that was a big part of it. And also, of course, a girl. I wanted to impress her, so I wanted to get my first guitar to impress her and sing some old country tunes. But
so when you whipped out the guitar, what did you sing to that young lady? And do you remember her name? Do you remember your first girl, the girl you tried to impress?
I do, but I have to keep it on the down low. So many people ask me about her, and I have to keep it on the down low. I can't say the name, even though I would love to. But
it'll come out in a song. It'll come out in a book. One of these days, it will come out. Charlie Cope.
One of these days, it'll have to. I just know it will. One day when I'm on Conan or something, it'll just slip out.
Well, it's a big part of your life, man. That's the girl that got you into it. And yeah, it's a story that's as old as time, man. Trying to impress a lady is, whatever we do, dig this. here, hold my beer, check it out, or watch me do this, watch me, trying to impress girls, or whoever, but as a heterosexual man myself, I've done a lot of things in my life to try to impress a lady, for sure. But you picked up a guitar, and Grandpa gave you the guitar. Do you remember what kind it was, and do you still have it? And
It's right over there.
And who taught you how to play it?
I taught me how to play it, actually.
How? How did you teach you how to play it, Charlie Cope?
Well, I didn't have. Well, we lived on a ranch, and we didn't really have any decent internet, so I couldn't watch any YouTube videos or anything like that. So at first, because what is a 14-year-old kid going to do? He's pretty much just going to hit the strings as hard as he can, and that wasted a lot of time. But eventually, I would just kind of hit one note at a time until it started sounding good, and then I joined a band as a backup singer. I was a country band as a backup singer, and they hated me playing guitar, so I would just sing.
Well, what year was this, and how old were you at 14 years old or 15?
I was 14 when I joined that band.
14? What year was that?
2015.
2015. All right.
I'm a lot younger than I look.
What's that?
I'm a lot younger than I look.
Oh, no. You're a lot younger than you let on. But you've had some experience in your life. My goodness, you've been all over this great planet of ours, and seen a lot of things and met a lot of people, and that's going to flavor your life and your psyche. And if you could put that to music, oh my goodness, you're a step ahead of the game. That's what you need, is experiences to be a creator. You can't live under a rock or be in a one-room apartment for your whole life and expect to create. I mean, I guess it can happen, but it's very rare. It's got to be a whole lot easier traveling being a globetrotter such as yourself, Charlie Cope. And thanks to your dad, you had that opportunity. And I guess your sister went along with you. Did she get into the music too, or what's your sister doing?
Oh, no, my sister lives in Arkansas. She actually has a family now. She's 4 years older than me. She didn't go to China with me, but she was there with me and my mom in Europe before we got a little older. She had to go to school. But it was just me and my dad in China, and then it was just me in Hong Kong. Dad stayed in China.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That she was in Europe with you. I remember you saying that she went to Europe with you, but she's in Arkansas. Me too. I'm in Conway, Arkansas myself, just about 30 minutes north of Little Rock. And I like it here, man. I got here from Miami, and I'm enjoying myself. You think Miami is southern, but it's not southern really. It's more of a, when I said that I was from Miami, people say, "Oh, that's like a suburb of New York, isn't it?" It's kind of, you're a Yankee from Miami. If you get to the South, like in Texas or Arkansas, that's the South. That's typically the South. But you're a Southern boy, but you got these beautiful blonde locks and that scruffy beard. I mean, you look like a country boy. You look like you're walking the walk or talking the talk, I guess. But you put your experiences to music. And how did you learn how to do that? You said your grandfather liked the way you write, and were you doing that before you even had a guitar?
I did. I was embarrassed, so I didn't show anybody. And then as soon as I got a guitar, I was just like, "Yeah, look, I've got these songs." Like, "Ooh, I just wrote them," because I was so embarrassed. As most 14-year-old kids that don't know anything about music would be. There was no chords to it or anything. I was just basically hitting the guitar. And I had no idea it would take me on, tours and all this. And, but, I just kind of wanted to impress.
Yeah. You impressed well, did you get the girl?
A couple times.
Hey, mazel tov. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I mean, mission accomplished. But beyond that, you were in a country band as a backup singer, and you said you went on tour. Was it tour all around the Texas area, or tour? How far did this tour take you, and what was the experience of that, Charlie Cope?
I didn't go on tour with that band. Okay. We were all pretty young. We were high school. I mean, we probably did like 2 or 3 gigs, and it was I probably made, I don't know, $50. I mean, I can't remember, probably like less than $50 off of that. I mean, 14-year-old can't even drive to the gig. Got to get a ride.
Hey, if
But
you made any money, you're a step ahead of the game. The first wedding I did back in 1986, yes, I'm old. Back in 1986, I made $50 on the wedding, but I rented the equipment for 70. So I lost money on that one. But it was a great experience. So what was the experience of being the backup singer in this band at 14 years old? And how old were the other guys in the band? Were they all in the same age? And what kind of gigs did you end up playing?
they were. I was the youngest person there, and I'm very used to that. I'm always the youngest person, but I was the youngest person. Everybody else was like 16, 17. I just kind of had the ability to like mimic any voice, and at the time, I would do like jokingly like imitate a Merle Haggard song, and I would like imitate his voice or Lefty Frizzell or whatever. And so I could sound however they wanted. Even back then, I couldn't sing the actual notes that I know how to sing now. So it was just kind of, a bunch of teenagers messing around. But I remember we played a coffee shop gig, and we were practicing like so much. Every one of us was so nervous, not embarrassed. And at the end, like something happened, and I was just the backup singer, so I didn't know anything. And there was like all these people, like we were a huge band, and we were all just like crammed together in this little coffee shop. And I remember being so excited because I made like $10. Just like, oh, I'm a celebrity now. I'm such a professional making $10 at this gig, telling everybody at school, look, I'm playing gigs, and all that. But it was interesting. They were all older than me, but it was cool. It was very cool.
Well, that's a commodity, man, to be able to sound like a different singer. And did you use those talents, sounding like Merle Haggard and sounding like other people when you were playing in that group?
I don't know if I did it so much when I was in that group. I think it was just kind of like a joke as a side thing because we didn't do much. We weren't together for, I don't know, a couple months. And then the lead singer left, and then a couple other people left. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm amazing, as much most 14-year-old kids that doesn't know anything better would think, I'm, all that. So I wanted to do my own thing, and that's what I did. I wanted to play guitar, and I still didn't know how. And I picked up some management, and I got lucky. I got a new backing band at the time called the Rebels from Nowhere, and did some shows here and there, and I learned a lot. But I still do those voices. I don't necessarily imitate Merle Haggard or Lefty Frizzell or whatever, but like I could do, Friends in Low Places, which I do most of those. You got to appeal to the crowd, and that's one of my country voices. Or I could do, Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, and I'm not going to use that same voice. I'm going to use an Axl Rose kind of like voice, and I might not be able to imitate everything anymore. I guess I just haven't really needed to, but I still have roughly 30, 35 different voices of my own that I've made, and I'll use different shows.
Man, that is a marketable commodity right there, to sound alike. If you listen, all right, one of my favorite interviews that I saw on Jimmy Fallon was Ariana Grande got on there, and she was imitating Celine Dion and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin, and she was doing sound alikes, and just it wasn't like she was singing their songs; she was singing their songs sounding like them. So that even at her level, that's a marketable commodity. Have you ever gotten gigs just because you sound like other people?
I mean, well, right now, kind of there's that everybody's got the same country voice, like blame it all on my roots. Like that's just the kind of voice that like every country singer has. I mean, so maybe I don't know.
You know what's funny is I do I do interviews with lots of different people, but there's the hip hop artist, and there was one that I did recently, and all of the raps sound like he's rapping about stuff that's in the room. whatever room he was in. And I was watching TV the other day, and it has that same cadence all the time. But yes, a lot of country is sounding a lot like itself. What was it, a couple 3 years ago? It might have been 2015, where the same idea as the four chords. Have you heard that four chord song where there's like every song is four chords? Well, then there's the country version where it's talking about beer and trucks and girls and trains, and it almost sounds like a David Allan Coe song, but for real. Everything has to have these elements in them. Your songwriting, I mean, what are your thoughts on songwriting? Are you writing from your experiences, or are you writing what you think people want to hear?
Yes, and both. Now, I'm working on this album, and me and this band have been working like crazy. But called Americana and What's Left, and it's been delayed about half a dozen times due to COVID. And before that, about a year ago, from the span of August to December, my first semester here at college, I was trying to write 1,200 songs so I could pick the top percent for the album.
What?
And so
1,200 songs. That's a lofty goal. And how many years?
August, about 6 months.
That's amazing. 1,200 different songs. I mean, how far have you gotten into your goal?
Oh, I did it.
1,200 songs. You have 1,200 songs. And yes, not all of them are going to be great, but
stinkers in.
But you're hitting on a thing that even writers do. Screenwriters will do this. Was a podcast I was listening to, and he got an idea from a mentor and said, just go off into the woods and write a one-act play. Oh, I can't write a one-act play. Well, go try to write a one-act play, and by the time you get back, whether it's good or bad, you'll have a one-act play that you've written. So you're writing 1,200 songs. Is this as an exercise in songwriting, or is this you're trying to find some viable stuff in there? How much of that harvest did you reap when you wrote those songs?
Quite a bit. It was as an exercise, just because I wanted to be better. Of course, and I came from Houston. There's a lot of Americana, folky kind of singers, towns, bands. That's a huge deal over there. And my favorite places to play in the world was JP Hop's house in Houston, and some of the best Americana singers would go through there. And so it was very, in my mind, it wasn't so much with everybody else, but in my mind, I was just like, I'm the youngest person here. I'm the only person here under 40. And everybody's kind of looking at me, after I do a really big show, I'll come back and everybody will kind of look at me like, like this is what you're going to do. You're going to sing the same songs as you did last week and the week before. And Sam and, Van and everybody, they have new songs, go up with something new. And so in my mind, I was like, I always got to be better. And so it was to get better, but it was really that 1,200 specific number was because something, I think Prince said, he would write 1,200 songs if he was doing a 12-song album and pick the top 1%.
Wow.
And I was basically the same thing. Or he would do 120 and pick the top 10%. And I figured I am definitely not Prince on any level. So I gotta updo it, make it even out. I did a 1,200, picked the top 1%. And I got it. I actually got 14 songs out of it, and I've written quite a few since, of course. But
you are given words of wisdom in your young life, man. You have learned so many things. You're wise beyond your years, man. But that right there, that gem of advice is, if you want to be a songwriter, go write some songs. Go do it. And that's what you did, man. You wrote it as an exercise. You come up with 14 viable songs, stuff that you can sing on stage. And do you take all 14 of those on the road with you and go sing? or at least until COVID came around. But yeah.
I sing probably at least I try to keep those 14 in the highest of rotation because, just marketing, that's what I have to release. But I'll also do probably around 30, 40 of them that I do a lot. And I'll just kind of switch throughout them because those are kind of my favorites.
So if people are going to come to a Charlie Cope show, since 2015, you've learned how to play guitar, mostly by ear in 2015. But since then, have you done any lessons or YouTube? Did your internet get better since you got to the big city? Yeah, since you left, was it Berkshire?
Yeah,
Berkshire. Since you left there, they only had one internet tower. It wasn't great, but you got to school and you got better internet. I'm guessing, did you learn from somebody or did you learn from YouTube? Or can you read music at all?
I can read music. I couldn't until very recently because I came to UNT and I started taking music classes, and it was music theory, and everybody's known how to read sheet music and complicated things since they were like third grade, and I knew it for like 2 weeks. So I had to learn very quick, and still I'm kind of slow at it. But and I guess it wasn't too long ago. But as far as learning goes, now I do watch YouTube videos. I mean, as much as I can. If it's about singing, I'll watch. Like yesterday, while I was doing homework, I was watching The Who, old videos on YouTube of The Who playing live. And that's actually what made me put Baba O'Reilly in a set list coming up later this month.
That amazing guitar. Had that full arm to get that guitar strum. Oh, for sure. Have you perfected that yet? Pete Townsend?
Actually, I think that one, because it's full band show, it's on the 23rd at the Fall Festival here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I think we're thinking I'm not going to play guitar at all for that one. I'm gonna have my guitar player play. My drummer and my bass player will be there with me, so I'll just sing, kind of like Roger Daltrey did. I guess I got the hair.
Yes. If you watch The Who's Tommy, you'll see that Roger Daltrey at one time he was a beautiful man. The Who, The Who's Tommy, that rock opera. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to check that movie out. Have you seen Tommy?
About a dozen times in the past hour. I'm kidding. No, but a lot. Yeah.
No. I mean, when I first saw it, I was way too young to see it, but it changed. It definitely changed my life. Having Tina Turner in there and Elton John and Roger Daltrey, of course, and I guess it was Anne Margaret was in there as well. Oh my goodness, the songs, The Who, just amazing. Yeah. And you say that you're all through the different genres. You started out in the first band that you were in. You were a backup singer. Was that primarily a country band, or would you call that an Americana band or folk band? What were you doing with that one in 2015?
That one was country. I didn't even know what Americana was yet, and it was very old school. Like I said, something about Merle Haggard. I remember they asked me to join, and I was singing "Favorite Memory" by Merle Haggard, and I was getting it all wrong. But they asked me to join after I did that, and it was very old school kind of country music.
Yeah, man. And so, okay, beyond Merle Haggard, what other influence did you have? And you say Grandpa was the one that got you the guitar. Was he into music too, or was he playing stuff that kind of affected you growing up?
He never played too much guitar around. He played like young, I guess before I was born, and so even now I'm like begging him to play with me because he knows a little bit. But his dad, I met when I was really, really little, long time ago. His dad played a lot of guitar, and he played all the time. And his friends would come over from, when my grandfather was a little kid, would come over and they would play like guitar and mandolin and all that sort of thing. And they would just play like string instruments on the front porch or something like that. And he said while all of his friends were playing and all like the neighborhood kids were playing, he would just sit and watch them play, having their own little live concert. and he would tell me things like this. And when I was younger, we would listen to a lot of old school country, and as I got older, started listening to more like rock. We listened to Eagles and Tom Petty. I love Tom Petty, and
you look Tom Petty. You do have that look.
Huge part of it. Yeah.
Well, okay,
It's
and
a huge part.
I haven't heard a lot of your singing. In fact, not much at all. What is your singing style? Do you have a good singing voice? You said that your grandfather enjoyed your singing. What were you singing back then for Grandpa, as opposed to where you're at now, 5 years later?
Back then, I was singing a lot of old school country. That was kind of all I did. I remember singing like Jim Reeves, and I remember for my great grandmother, every Christmas she loved Elvis.
Who doesn't?
So I would sing my Elvis voice, which is probably the easiest voice to do. I would sing Blue Christmas.
Go ahead. Give me a couple bars. We might get kicked off of YouTube for that one. Go ahead.
It's been a few years, but all out the blue Christmas without you, something like that.
I'll be the Jordanaires. No, that's cool, man. You did good. Oh, my grandmother would be so proud. And I have a key to the Heartbreak Hotel. I stayed at the hotel across from Graceland, room 223. It was made up to look like the Jungle Room. And when I checked in, this is back in, I don't know, early 2000s. When I checked in, they had real keys. It wasn't like a card key that you slipped into a lock. It was a real key. And I told the lady at the front desk, I'm going to steal this key because it said Heartbreak Hotel on one side and the other side it said Lonely Street, Memphis, Tennessee. And I said, I'm going to steal this key. She said, everybody does. Just leave your deposit. I said, can I steal two of them? One for my grandma? So yeah, Elvis is definitely a way to go. So I think your grandma, my grandma and your great grandma would get along very well. And mine's still kicking. My goodness, she's 91 years old, living in Key Largo, man, still kicking. Mommy, I love you. So yeah, having that in your life, that effect, Elvis, I mean, is definitely an icon. But other than that, you had Merle Haggard, Jim Reeves, and that country. Did that all come from great grandma or grandpa, or were there? Where did the Eagles come from? Where did the rock and roll come in?
The Eagles came from when Tom Petty died. I started when I was 16. I went and played in like Vietnam and a few other places, I think. And
no big deal
at the time.
Yeah, no big deal. It's Vietnam. What?
Another day in the life of Charlie Cope. But my dad was actually living in Vietnam, and that's why me and my manager at the time it was kind of like a makeshift DIY tour, and so we did a bunch of promotion. Look, Charlie's in Vietnam today, and it helped with some sponsors and stuff. And I was 16 years old, and I was doing just old school country, and then that management got me doing outlaw country, like Waylon and Johnny Paycheck and that sort of thing. And then I went over there. I started spending time with my dad. He and his friends got me into old school rock, like Journey and ZZ Top and Guns N' Roses and that sort of thing. And now I'm a huge fan of Guns N' Roses now.
Well, how did the Vietnamese people take to that? I mean, was it what was the response on it? Charlie Cope and his band. And what band was this? Was the whole band going with you, or was it Charlie Cope solo artist?
It was solo artists. I mean, I've pretty much always been solo artists, other than a few bands that I've been in. But at the time, it was Charlie Cope and the Rebels from Nowhere, so I had a backing band, and they did not go with me. No, it was just me. But I remember jumping on. I don't know how I got gigs in Vietnam, but I remember getting on stage a few times. I don't remember it too clearly because it was a tour. And you don't tend to remember things from tour too clearly. Okay. But I do have videos.
Was that substance related? You don't have to answer that.
Well, this is on. It was candy. Yeah, candy. Okay. Candy and soda. Yeah.
That'll get me all hopped up. Okay. All right. So yeah. Vietnam, very good. I mean, but yeah, if they hear this American boy is playing some American songs, I'm sure that's going to get you some gigs, man. It's a novelty, just to have that influence. As much as we in the West are amazed or interested in the things of the West or of the East, and man, really all over the world, I'm interested in things that happen all over the world, and you being a part of a whole nother culture going over there, man, of course they wanted to come. They wanted to see you play your rock and roll and play your country music. Do you remember some of the songs that got the most response from the Vietnamese people?
Despacito. That was big back then, and I couldn't sing it at all. But they didn't know. They didn't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Okay. So you're doing some cockamamie Spanish for the Despacito song, and were you playing along with yourself? Are you playing with on guitar? Was this acoustic or was this electric guitar?
I think at the time it was acoustic. My dad bought because we didn't take it with me. My dad bought a little cheap acoustic guitar. I think he still has it, and I just kind of played that a few times. And while I was over there, it was just kind of two birds, one stone. All this marketing and a couple shows, and I get to visit my dad. And I remember singing "Sweet Home Alabama," and I remember it going really badly because too much soda. and I remember my dad coming up on stage with me, and I didn't know like why or how, or just here he is singing "Sweet Home Alabama" with me. So, screw it, come on, let's do it.
What a nice experience with your dad, though, man. That's cool. That's got to bring you closer together to do a gig together. That's fantastic, man. I wish I had that experience with my dad. That's cool, man. And do you still? Are you thinking about forming a band with your dad, or is he still doing the golf course thing, or what's going on with him?
He's in Singapore. No, he's in Indonesia right now. He's actually he's been there for I guess a year or so, and he was doing construction on golf courses until COVID hit, and they couldn't keep going.
And so now he's what, stuck there?
Do what?
He's what, stuck there now?
As much as I can tell from what he's been telling me, he's basically the whole island is still on lockdown. And from what I understand, they're just trying to be extra safe, I'm guessing, which makes sense to me, at least. And so there's not a whole lot of work going on for much anybody. And he's talking about like how he just gotten this, you'll get this and this and that for like extremely cheap prices because the price of everything just went down. Like rent is next to nothing, and you'll like go get like lobster for like a few bucks, and just I'm over here eating peanut butter and jelly. Like how? Like yeah.
So your dad's making do in Singapore. Oh, I feel so bad for him. But yeah, I mean, he's not exactly where he wants to be. But man, I guess they do a lot of golfing all over the world. There's got to be a market for being a golf course builder. So kids, if you're out there listening, hey, that might be a job for you. That'll get you to travel all over the world building golf courses. Come on, that's fantastic, man. And then the byproduct was, hey, maybe your kids will go along with you and get some experience, just like Charlie Cope did, and even your sister for a little while in Europe. So how did that affect her? I mean, she just ended up being a normal family girl in Arkansas, then, huh? No. You could brag on sis.
I guess we don't talk that much.
Oh, okay. No, I understand that too. I have a half brother that's in. He moved from North Carolina to Washington, Walla Walla, Washington, and I haven't seen him. I never saw him when he was in North Carolina, and I haven't seen him in Walla Walla, Washington either. It's funny how siblings sometimes they grow apart. We still talk, on the phone and Facebook and stuff like that, but yeah, it happens. And then I have a sister that's like 25 years younger than me, and man, I hardly ever see her, but I see her in pictures all the time. She's doing great in Miami. So so go on about Charlie Cope and how your family has spread throughout this globe.
We've been there. There have been copes all over the place. We're like a disease. I'm kidding. No, I mean, my dad does it, and his dad did it, and so on. So I think I got the travel bug at a very young age, and I mean, like Brookshire, I call it my home because I mean, I got there when I was like 12ish, but I've been there longer than any place else. I've never been in a school for an entire year, I don't think, and before Brookshire, and of course now UNT. Uh, but I've been off of the tour. I got off the tour in like right before school started, so like August 20th or something like that. And I'm already antsy. Like let's go again. Like,
and that was the Singapore tour. That was the Singapore tour. You just got back from there in last August.
No. That was the Vietnam tour. That was when I was 16. Sorry, this is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not keeping it straight in my head. That was the Vietnam tour when you were by yourself with the cheap guitar that your dad bought you over there. Okay, gotcha. And you just got back in August.
Well, no, that one was a few years ago.
Okay.
This year's tour was just Texas. So we were really worried on how to get it to work with COVID, but it was amazing because I don't have that management I had when I was 16, and I didn't have all those opportunities anymore. I wanted to go off and do my own thing. I didn't want to sing country music anymore. So now it's all on my own, and I did that when I was 16. I stopped drinking soda and I stopped drinking candy. Actually, stopped that 3 years ago, 2 days ago, when I was 16 years old. And I started doing my own thing. So I started getting back, and I kind of started going up and then went down. And I realized, wow, I'm awful. Like, I'm really, really bad at this. So I tried cutting an album, seeing how that worked. That was terrible. I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely need to get to work. So, sorry, this wasn't answering your question.
No. I'm learning about you, Charlie Cope. Man, this is terribly interesting and funny. When you said August, I was already thinking last August, because this whole year has been shot for most artists, musicians, singers, even movie makers, theater actors. Everything's been shot. But here you've been actually touring this year around Texas. I mean, is this bars or restaurants or I mean, is this some what kind of shows are you doing?
Well, it was originally, I mean, we booked the tour maybe a dozen times. It was insane. It was frustrating, but it was supposed to be bars, but mostly concert halls on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then every other day of the week was going to be like bars, coffee shops, little wineries, that sort of thing. And then COVID hit, and almost everything got wiped out, and then we just started doing everything we could get our hands on, because all of my friends, they weren't doing anything. Like, I mean, they couldn't, and so I kind of took the advantage of the opportunity, and I worked on I figured, right now I have an opportunity that I'm never going to get again. No one's ever going to get again, because everybody on the planet is sitting on the couch looking at their phone. So I did the same thing. I got to work. I got to work on my my social media platforms and my marketing strategies for the internet side, and while I wasn't gigging anymore because of COVID, I did everything I could, online concerts, anything, and it just started gradually picking up, and started to be, I was doing better than before COVID, which is, nobody got that.
Amazing, man.
And then
and how are you generating generating revenue? Are you putting out a tip jar, a virtual tip jar, or are you putting your music out on Spotify and Apple and trying to get some revenue that way? Because yes, a musician says, "Oh, I don't do it for the money," but you got to make some money. You got to keep a roof over your head. How are you generating revenue?
Well, that whole COVID, before I was touring and playing shows, I wasn't. I had no intention of doing that from social media or anything. And I did those online shows, and we did sell tickets from those, and that got some money for me and my promo team. But I went on the tour, and I was driving from city to city around Texas, doing any show I could get, and that was revenue. I mean, really and truly. I mean, I like having music. It's on the radio. It's all over Texas radio. It's in England and Germany, and I think somebody said something about Spain. And I love that, but really, I really love playing live, and that's where my focus is as an artist and as just a person. So
yeah.
playing live has been my main source of revenue.
Yeah, now that artists can't sell albums for the most part, they sell those little 99-cent songs. The only way to really make money off of this thing is to go out and play live, and then maybe sell a little merch on your table there and meet the people. But the industry has just changed so much. I feel for the artists that they used to get raked over the coals by the record companies anyway. I've heard so many horror stories where you'll sell 1 million units and you only make 100,000. The 10% of those units, even though you did 90% of the work, you're only making 10% of the income. And meanwhile, the record company's saying, "Oh, we needed to take a little bit off of yours for the airplane ride and for the studio time and for the this and then." The horror stories that I've heard, but thankfully you're learning business at UNT. Yay. That you're gonna, that should help you navigate. But I mean, I feel for you. You're making all this music. You took the time to write 1,200 songs. You came up with 14 solid songs and you put them out where, and are they making any money?
Well, they're not all out yet. Actually, only 2 are out yet. And because like I was on tour and I was doing it was a one-man tour, so I couldn't practice for the band. I couldn't record. And my backing band is my session musicians. I wanted to keep the same musicians, and it is making money. It is not our main source of income because, like you said, everything changed, and so many people just don't understand that it's 2020. The music industry isn't the same as it was in the 80s or the 90s. Yes, the Beatles did this, but that was a long, long time ago. A lot has changed. And I've even, a lot of musicians will come to me asking me for advice. And like, Charlie, I did this thing that you told me a year ago and it was working great, but it's not working anymore. I was like, yeah, it's all changed. And my advice is going to be different now because the whole world has changed. Everything has changed. And it's going to keep going that way. So the money from streaming isn't much, and it's never been like I never said I'm going to make an album to make money. I said I'm going to make an album to make business, and that business, have a back catalog, have something to promote. It's going to bring people into my shows, and that's how I make business. That's how I make a living. How I pay for my own college, apartment and all that. That's where I am because I'm not a studio guy. I'm a performing guy. And if you saw one of my shows, I'm sure you'd probably agree that the songs that are out are very different from when I play them live. And so they're always going to be different live every night. Yeah,
you're comfortable in front of an audience. There's some that are studio musicians that, wow, that was a great album. Now let's take it on tour. Oh no, I'll be in my room. They can't be in front of an audience. They have that, whether it's stage fright or anxiety or what have you. For whatever reason, they can't perform it live. But I guess the Monkees had that problem. They were a band that was kind of put together, and there were so many studio musicians that were playing their music at first, and then they said, "Well, we want to learn how to play music," and then they actually went and performed live. And you were talking about the Beatles. Yeah, they made it big, selling record albums when record albums were pretty much the only media, the only way to consume their music. So yeah, selling 500,000 records or 1 million records was a thing back then. But even selling 99-cent songs on Apple or streaming 50 million. There was something I saw. Was it Peter Frampton said, that Baby, I Love Your Way got streamed 50 million times. He got a $1,200 check.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to get anything back from any of this streaming, it needs to be restructured because, Spotify is making money. And I know that this podcast is on Spotify as well. I don't hate you, Spotify, but you're not giving any money to your artist, man. But I just wonder how people are making a living, because starving artist has always been a thing, and maybe even more so now, unless you have the ability to market yourself and get out there in front of the public, which thankfully you have that ability. How you get that energy from your screaming fans, I guess. And do they meet you at the merch table? I mean, well, how do you want? What's the best way to support a Charlie Cope, in this day and age, in 2020?
Well, I don't have merchandise out yet, which kills me. The closest thing I have are business cards. So if you ever see this logo going around your town, that means I'm in your town, means I'm playing. So I guess you can always come out to a show. You can always come meet me. I love meeting people. It's gotten to a point where there's a certain area in Dallas where I'll walk around and I'll get recognized. I got recognized 3 times in one day last week. It was amazing. So I love it when people come up and say hi to me, take pictures with me. I absolutely love it. I try to put that on social, so feel free to follow my Instagram, Twitter, please, whatever, whatever it is, I've got it. And our website, our events page, where I have all my gigs. And I absolutely love meeting new people. That's a big thing. People will comment on my Instagram or Twitter, or direct message me from, hey, I'm your number one fan from Brazil, or something. I love. What about you? Obviously, I have no plan on going to Brazil anytime soon.
Oh, but you'll go.
Really, really cool.
You'll go if they call you. Oh yeah, obrigado. I don't know exactly what that means, but I know it's something Brazilian. But no, man, but show me that logo again, and who designed that for you?
I played a show in Houston, Texas, with a really great band. They're friends of mine, Dead Cinema, and the lead singer, guitar player, Mr. Nobody. So he's an awesome dude. Actually, I saw my phone just lit up. He just texted me. We're talking about songs on my album and on his album, and we're doing a bunch of work together. He's actually playing guitar on one of the songs. He co-wrote one of the songs with me a long time ago. And I played this show with them, and the videographer that was there and took a video of the whole thing. We were talking afterwards, and he said he also did logo design, and I had this just drawn up on a piece of notebook paper. And I said, "Do you think you could do this?" And he's like, "Dude, that's going to take me like a few minutes. Sure, no problem." And he did it, and it was amazing. I loved it. And I also have all these different color variations. So like I have UNT school colors, and if I ever play in College Station, I have A&M school colors, and all that sort of thing. It's really cool.
Well, it's good to have friends, man, and definitely. Well, what's the scene like? Because I know here in Arkansas, whenever I go to, I guess TC's, and I want you to say the name of that place that you were talking about before, so I can put it on the What Makes You Famous walking tour. But TC's is a place here, Midtown in Conway, Arkansas. It used to be the Grand Ole Opry West, and now it's TC's Midtown, and still bands go in there. But on Sunday nights, they have a Sunday night jam. That's their thing. And this is where bands from all over the area will go play with each other. Be guitarist from that band and drummer from that band, singer from this band. And what's the scene like in Dallas, Fort Worth? Are you tight, or are people stomping on each other?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's honest. That's a very honest answer.
Yeah. Dallas Fort Worth is weird because I'm from Houston, and Houston is, very compact, and then everything around it, it's like a Target. It's very compact, and then everything around it just kind of spreads out. But Dallas Fort Worth isn't, because you have Dallas, which is like that, and then you have Fort Worth, you have Arlington, and you have all these millions of little towns. So it's very weird. And I love playing the little towns because you'll get. It's just kind of hard to explain, but I guess you get a lot more people from the city, or you get a lot more people who care from the little towns, if that makes any sense. Like if I do a 4-hour show, for some reason, just the people in the little town, they're all going to stay there for that 4 hours. But the people in the city, I mean, if I take a 5-minute break off the stage, or a guitar string bust, and I go to swap it out, a quarter of the crowd is already gone. But there is quite a few people here, like Grady Spencer. Is awesome. Got to work with Red Shahan a little bit. I got to work with Rainbow King, or I guess I was in Midland. Some really great artists that I listened to in high school, and now I'm texting, which is just amazing.
That's fantastic to have mentors and have your heroes that you can actually get advice from and work with. That's got to make you feel good, because you keep saying, back when you were this and back when that, you got to be what, 22, 23? Well, how old are you, man?
I'm 19.
19. Exactly. I was guessing high. I was aiming high, but you said 2015. Yeah, I guess I should have did the math. 5 years later, 2015, you were 14. Duh. But it's getting late. I understand. But man, you've already done so much. You've already seen so much, and you've already experienced so much. And now that you're in school, you're actually backtracking and learning the theory. I've talked to so many musicians on this podcast, and even just throughout my life. Some of them don't know how to read music. Some of them don't know what the theory is. You're learning about why we still talk about Beethoven and Wagner and Chopin and all these people. Why, after hundreds and hundreds of years, we're still talking about them. Could you imagine, 500 years from now, if somebody says, yeah, back in those 2000s, Charlie Cope, remember? Charlie Cope, man, he was awesome. He changed the world with his music. But you're learning that people that did, why do I still play that classical music at weddings, during their ceremonies, whenever I'm DJing? You're learning those theories. I mean, what are you getting out of do you think it's helping you at all, or do you think, what do you think? What are you getting out of it?
It's definitely helping me in terms of I can, like, the language. Music is a language, and everybody speaks a slightly different dialect of that language. But like my bass player said something at practice the other day. It was like, it's this and that. And I was like, oh, so you mean just like E, right? You just start with the tonic of E, and then you work your way to the fifth of A, right? And he's like, no. And I was like, but you said the dominant, right? And he was like, whoa, that's not, well, kind of. And it's always a little bit, it can be said a little bit different from so many different people, but I've definitely learned how to talk to other musicians, and more professional musicians. I don't want to say professional. That's because, I've heard so many people talk bad about musicians that don't know how to read sheet music or don't know theory, and they do just fine. I've heard since I was 14 there's this whole thing against classically trained musicians and bar musicians, but there's no reason you can't do both.
Well, yeah, you got to liken it to people on different levels. There's people that can't read but still function in society. There's people that can't do math but still get around in the world somehow. But you can read and you can do math, for to make a colloquialism, or to make well, see, and some people can speak, and some people's words just elude them. Like me, like myself, I stumble like crazy. But you're getting more tools in your toolbox for sure, and you're able to speak to different people that speak that same language that you do, Charlie Cope. and that's making you a better artist. That's making you a better person. Is having those different tools in your toolbox. You're taking the time to go to school to learn more about your craft. That word craft. I'm learning my craft. Yeah, you're taking the time. It's going to make you a better musician and a better artist and a better performer for your fans. Do you? It's got to make them feel good that you're taking the time, and it's making you feel good that you're taking the time. Are you making any relationships, any friends in class that possibly you'll collaborate with?
Oh yeah, I mean, all my backing band members are all UNT students.
Excellent.
And
did you meet them there, or was that previous to that?
No, I met them here. Actually, as soon as I got here, I just put flyers up in every hallway. I would walk up and down the practice buildings, just meeting every person I could. My bass player, I met him twice because he didn't want to audition. I talked him into it, and he was just walking down the sidewalk with a bass in his hand, and I ran down the street and gave him a card. And, I saw him again about a month later. I did the exact same thing. Like, you want to audition? My drummer, he was in a practice room, and I knocked on the door. I was like, dude, I've been listening for like 20 minutes. You're pretty good. It's cool. I didn't necessarily come to UNT for a piece of paper that says I'm a good musician or a bad musician. I came here to learn, not this, education. I mean, you could learn from YouTube, but I also came here for those connections that you can't really get from YouTube.
Yeah, that's what you get in school, and that you get the relationships, the networking, and maybe even long lasting relationships. The people, man, I know people from high school and college that I still hang with and still know today and still talk to on a regular basis. And the aforementioned probably talk to more than my brother, my own brother and sister, or you make friends and you make relationships, and I'm glad that you have that as well. You're getting that out of UNT. Go Eagles! All right, So fantastic, man. All right, I think I've taken a bit of your time. I mean, what's on the horizon for Charlie Cope, and I guess the way people find you for the first part is charliecopemusic.com. Is that where you want to send all the people? Because it seems like you've put that website together fairly well. And is there any other way to connect with you, Charlie Cope?
You can always just Google my name. There's about a bazillion different search results for me, but I mean, feel free to. There's a contact page. I love it when people get in touch with me on there. So yeah, the website, Instagram. There's the real Charlie Cope because there's a couple of fake ones, so you might want to watch out for the fake ones. If there's like 4 followers, it's probably fake. Probably.
Yeah. I'm looking at your name, Charlie Cope, and it seems like it will be a more common name, but no, I Googled Charlie Cope, and there's the Charlie, charliecopemusic.com is the first result I get. And then I guess LinkedIn, I get some kind of first vice president. Don't worry about that, Charlie Cope. But then, definitely your Twitter, where I found you, where we found each other, the Charlie Cope at the Charlie Cope. So I'll definitely put this in all the show notes so people can click the links and what have you. But charliecopemusic.com is the place to go, man. So what's on the horizon for you? You got those 14 songs, or 2 of them are recorded. And speaking of, do you record them all yourself, or do you have a studio that you buy some time from, or do you have friends that have a studio? How do you get your music recorded?
I've worked with a few different studios. For this project, we're working with a smaller studio. I want it to be a little bit more less fast paced. I want it to be more, let's sit in on it, think on it, and kind of like as a bunch of friend musicians would just kind of sit and jam. I wanted to have that kind of feel to this first big album. And so, like I said, 2 of those songs are already recorded and released. What About You and Waller County, which are both on the radio here in Texas and all over England, Germany. And still trying to get some more streams. So go stream that and add it to some playlists. But
yeah, I think that's what one of the things that Justin Bieber did on his last on his last output, or his last song that he put out. He said to all his fans on Twitter, on Instagram, he said, "Hey, put it on Spotify. You can keep it low and just have it streaming over and over and over and over." So yeah, all your Charlie Cope songs, put them on your playlist and let them stream over and over and over and over. Put them up on the list. Yeah, that's a dirty way to do it, but do it. Go ahead. Get Charlie Cope some hits, man. and hopefully I'll get your song and put it back there on the radiowhat.com internet radio station that I'm running right there, right behind me.
I think What About You was on there, wasn't it?
It is. It is. So and I know that anyone with, I don't know, $1,000 or so can at least have enough recording equipment at the house that they can make a demo. Do you have at least that, a microphone, a computer, and maybe a mixing board that you can make your own demos?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I have the stuff from my live shows. I have a lot of really professional equipment that I use on the concerts, and I'm on a laptop right now. I guess that's probably all I need.
Yeah, but you feel to really make an album, you need to have more of a team, maybe at least one or two other people that are kind of helping you to flesh out the songs. Because I know a songwriter, there's very few writer musicians that can go into a studio, play, and then leave, and that's it. That's finished product. A lot of people need a producer, an editor, somebody that's discernible, that can say, hey, this has worked in the past. They've been around the block a little bit. You have people like that, or you have a guy like that, or a girl that can help you do that, or you could give shout outs to the people that help you.
Over at Civil Audio, there's Michael Briggs, and he's awesome. He's a one-man army. He does a lot of this stuff, and even though he is a one-man army, he's not the only man in my team. He does so much work with me, and I could not have gotten these recordings so well without him. My backing band, my bass player, my guitarist and drummer, and my violin player, who's the extended member of the backing band. I mean, I asked them to all stay extra long, and we're still recording right now for the rest of the album. But I asked them all to stay extra long, and even if your part is done, stay, because I'm the youngest person there. Everyone else is in their 20s at the youngest, and I'm 19. And one of the reasons I think I've gotten so far is because I have no problem asking, what does that mean? Or what do you think of this? And even at concerts, if there's a few hundred people, and now it's COVID, probably just a few hundred, I'll still go to ask the audience, hey, do you have any suggestions, songs you'd like to hear, anything that I did bad on, what can I not be better, and I wouldn't have these songs. I wouldn't have much at all if I didn't have that, if I didn't have my team behind me.
Well, that's good. Charlie Cope works well with others. From a young age, you're working with a band, and now you're able to work with. You could do it by yourself. You can do it with a band. It's easier to kind of pick up and go by yourself, I'm sure. Pick up your guitar and just head off to that local coffee shop and make a couple bucks. Singing for the people, or busking. I guess that's the other thing. The other term that I've heard. Just walking the streets, with a hat, or putting your guitar case open there and busking, making some dinner money, what have you. But sometimes to play, just to play. If you're going to be practicing anyway, might as well practice in front of some folks and have them throw a couple bucks in your thing. But have you ever done some busking? Is that something you do?
I did.
Yeah. I mean,
I've done it in a few years.
Hey, I mean, shoot. I mean, depending on what level or what you're willing to do with your art or to get your art out there. It's some people will do this and won't do that, but it sounds like you're well-rounded, man. It sounds like you have, Charlie Cope can only go up. I see nothing but great things coming from you in the future. And after we get out of this COVID thing, are you going back to the band, or are you going around the world, following your dad around in the Far East, or what's the plan after COVID?
Well, we've been playing a lot, but because of COVID, we had to downsize to just one man shows for the most part. Like I'm playing Saturday at Nora's Restaurant and Bar in Dallas, and it's just a one man show. But and we're slowly getting back to the full band thing. Like we have a show, Fall Festival show on the 23rd with the backing band, and like I said, we are going to do Bob O'Reilly. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah,
and there is a lot in extreme detail. You would have no idea how long me and the team, all the different kinds of teams, have gotten together and to get this in extreme detail for the next several years, actually. And I'm not allowed to disclose everything, which is so amazing to me that I'm not allowed to disclose information to the audience. But so hopefully we'll come up with this single, the next single, the third single. I really thought we'd make it to come out February 5th. And then hopefully the album will come out a few months later in the late spring of 2021, depending on how everything goes with COVID. And then I will, no matter what happens, I will go on a second tour all across Texas. We already have the towns and cities mapped out for summer of 2021. After that, we're actually going national with the tour in 2022.
wow.
And there's quite a bit.
And this is load up a van and just go. The whole band gets in a van and goes from town to town.
For now, it's actually just me on the tours, unfortunately. But it is a big white van with this logo on it. If you ever see it in your town, that means I'm coming to play. But
it's cool that you're open to meet people, man, to meet the fans, and you got your logo all over stuff, man. I like that. I like that a lot. People, you say you're going to put an album out. I don't know what an album is anymore. Does anybody, I guess people still press vinyl and maybe CDs on a smaller scale, but what is an album now? It's more putting out singles. Here's a single. And is there artwork? Was it Mr. Nobody that made your card? What was it?
Oh, his name is Jackie. I don't remember his last name. He's a really cool guy. Made this. Mr. Nobody is a musician out of Houston that I work with a lot.
Okay, that's what I got confused on who that was. But whoever made your card, will they do some?
Easy name to remember.
Yeah, will they do some artwork for your different singles and maybe for your album? Is there artwork there, or maybe it's a picture of Charlie Cope just looking pensive?
We already have all the artwork for the next year or so planned out.
Cool.
It's not with the same guy. A lot of people have been telling me how, because I only have two songs out. Everything else is from when I was a kid. Yeah. I only have 2 songs out, and a lot of people have been telling me on What About You? It was me on like a stained glass type deal. In Waller County, it was like a Western painting. It looked like something that came off a Saltgrass Steakhouse wall. In the next single, I'm not allowed to disclose what it's going to be, but it's going to be very interesting. I really thought we'd make it a really cool song, but I'm not allowed to say what's going to be on the cover quite yet.
Well, as I'm looking at you're at I have so much tchotchkes and stuff going on behind me. You're in a plain white wall. I want to see some of your artwork up on that wall. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. A nice big logo of you. Just stuff to inspire you, even if it's pictures of your various albums, your singles, artwork. Stuff that will inspire you to go further. And that's also merchandising as well, man. Where you'll see you're a fan with a T-shirt while you're walking around that Dallas Fort Worth street that you like to frequent, and there comes a fan wearing a Charlie Cope shirt. Wow, or a Charlie Cope hat or a pin. Wow, that's got to make you feel good too. So yeah, merchandising. I guess people want a piece. If they can't take you with them, They want a piece of you. Hey, that concert was great. Let me get a T-shirt. Yeah. So yeah, merch. Got to get that merch, man. I know you're working on it.
It takes a while, especially with COVID. Everything is so short. But as far as this plain wall, I actually just moved into this apartment.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I picked this wall because you can't see all the boxes that are still stacked up. Yeah. But it's still a little bit of a mess, especially with how busy I am with all this music and marketing. But I'll usually have my walls covered with old posters, and over my desk I have a Tom Petty poster to inspire me while I'm writing all those songs.
Well, it was very strategic to pick that wall, I guess, then. All right, man. I guess I've taken enough of your time. Let's wrap this thing up. They know to head over to charliecopemusic.com. Any other avenues you want to explore before we wind this thing down?
Let's do it again sometime.
You better believe it. As time progresses, I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. Charlie Cope, this could be words to live by, maybe something you heard a long, long time ago, a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or it could just be whatever pops into your head at this particular moment in time. Charlie Cope, last words for the people.
Okay. I got a paraphrase quote. So Glenn Frey from the Eagles, he used to be a backup singer for Bob Seger. He was talking to Bob Seger about writing, and Bob Seger told him, write a song and then write a bunch more, and they're all gonna be crap, complete and utter crap. And you can go and listen to my first album, and it's pretty much complete and utter crap because I was a kid. But if you write a few more and a few more and a few more, and no matter how good one song might be, it might be the best song ever. It doesn't matter because it's just practice for the next song, and everything you do is just practice for the next thing.
Well, there you have it, party people. Charlie Cope. That boy's good. I'll tell you, he is good. Man, he's so far ahead of the game. 19 years old, been all over this planet of ours, got so many experiences, able to put those experiences on paper or tablet or however you write music these days, and then put them to song. Amazing. I imagine, all right, I know, he never told the name of the girl that he was trying to impress the first time he learned how to play guitar, but I suspect that she'll end up in a song one of these days, if she hasn't already. Maybe she has ended up in a song and he just hasn't said it. I'm kind of interested. Thank you so much, Charlie Cope, for coming on the What Makes You Famous podcast and telling a little bit of your story of how you came to be where you are today. Nothing but great things coming for you. All right. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. I'm turning my attention to you. If you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.